Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Tell Me Why by Maddox. Today we have a very special guest. She is a clinical mental health therapist, a yoga instructor, and a Reiki master. We are so excited to have Zahra Adloo today on the show.
I'm honored to be here. Honored to break through some of my fears by just being here and presenting in front of a camera, sharing my thoughts, sharing my truth, and feeling valued for them. So thank you both for having me here.
Thank you so much, Zahra. And we are doing something crazy today. Her story is powerful. She's a badass woman, but we decided to tweak things around. So we have a list of questions here that we're going to pick together, or she's going to pick one question, and we're going to just talk about it. But before we get there, is there anything special you want to share about today with us?
Yeah, so I feel within my heart, and this is like my intuition, I feel that being here and putting myself in front of the camera and sharing what I need to share is preparing me for something greater. And that came with my job as a group therapist. It came with my teachings as a yoga instructor. For someone who always feared being in front of people and just being seen. It is just, I don't know, I feel like I'm very grateful for this experience.
We are very grateful to share this moment with you.
Yeah,
and we all have fear.
We're
going to talk about our fears.
Yeah.
Should we dive in?
Let's dive into
it.
Right. We need a drum roll or something.
You pick any and just, go ahead.
By the way, I want to say I love the idea.
Thank you.
I really do. It's really creative. I haven't seen anybody else do it.
We didn't work on it. We did not work on these questions. We chose them. We decided what questions should we put in there, but
completely random.
Let's see. Which is again another fear I'm breaking through. Not knowing
and not to the show that we talk about fear.
Not having it planned out in advance. So here goes nothing, right? Like first question. What are your thoughts on psychedelic drugs?
Oh, perfect! Hold on. This has not been planned. This is not planned. This was not planned. This is among all those questions.
My thoughts on psychedelic drugs, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm working towards, becoming a psychedelic psychotherapist. And it had to do, again, with me breaking the fear of actually trying it. I went to my first psychedelic ayahuasca retreat when I was going through a moment in my life where I didn't feel fulfilled in my job. And I wanted the answers. I wanted to know why I was where I was and why I was so unhappy. And I went there. I was terrified. The only thing I'd ever really done was like marijuana at the most. I went through and it was life-changing for me. It was the catalyst to my journey of being where I am right now, which is a lot closer to myself, my inner being. But the science behind it all, it's helped with a lot of trauma, addiction, depression, anxiety. There's tons of research on it. It allows you to expand your conscious awareness beyond what you are programmed or what your experiences have taught you. So my experience and my thoughts on psychedelic drugs, it's the future.
Tell us more about it. Maybe we may have some viewers that they may not know what are the psychedelic drugs. And
I mean, I don't even know, honestly.
Yeah.
So what the experience, what it does, it basically...
So it's a drug that you take?
Yeah, it is.
Such as ayahuasca that I've
So
heard
we don't want to call it a drug.
Oh,
we want to respect it. We
what
want to call it plant medicine.
Plant medicine.
Plant medicine.
Okay.
Is it legal?
It is legal in some states. Ketamine, I know, gets used here in Santa Cruz area, ketamine, but... psilocybin we're working on. I know Oregon it's legalized there. In Washington, D.C. it's legalized, but in a clinical setting.
Okay.
So I know that you can actually keep these substances on you legally if you join the Native American Church, which is what I did. As long as you don't sell it to people, then you are capable of having it for your own spiritual beliefs and purposes. So that's what I've done. And so I'm able to keep it abundant in my apartment.
What you said is that you said it helps with trauma, and that's what I've heard, that people consume ayahuasca, they go for the ceremony, and the serious traumas of life that they've had, then they come out of this experience, or however, I don't know what the word you use. And
so basically, when you go through trauma before your prefrontal cortex develops, which is the area of the brain that makes the decision, that's able to make a connection with what's happening and be able to perceive it a certain way, it is the place of logic. And so when it's not fully developed and you go through trauma before the age of 25-ish, when it does start to develop, a lot of the trauma that you experience gets stuck. It gets stuck in your brain, and you don't really know how to process it until it becomes triggered through an experience that you went through, or in some type of way comes out through your body. What this does is it allows you to be able to access that. So it completely drops your default mode network, which is who you are. It's how you present yourself to the world. It's like the center of where your personality is, right? How you've been programmed, how your experiences have shaped you. It drops the activity in that level, in that brain part, or that part of their brain, and it allows you to like see things like as if you're a new baby, as if you're discovering life again. And so when those things are stuck back there, it comes forth. It just literally comes forward. It could be things that like maybe your mother even experienced when she was giving birth to you. The trauma of like going through that. It all just gets heightened and it comes to your awareness, and you're able to just process it, just at least have an understanding of what it was. Because sometimes our brains are so smart, when we go through trauma, it blocks it out. It wants to save you. It wants to protect you. So it will block it out of your memory. And this brings it up. I mean, ayahuasca, psychedelics allows it to come up and onto the surface so you could face it and you can heal it.
Does it happen when you are in that experience? So let's say that in that couple of days you take the ayahuasca, and do you process all this trauma there?
So yeah, I had a major issue with the unknown. I had a major issue on just controlling everything in my life. I didn't allow things to flow the way it should be. And so when I experienced my ayahuasca trip or journey, I realized that the messages that I kept getting was let go. Just let go. Let go and be a good person. Do what you need to do, and everything will follow through and will open up for you. And that is the message that continues to carry on for me. I mean, I used to have an addiction, I would say maybe an addiction, I could say.
This is a safe space. No judgment.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want to this way.
I was so afraid of the unknown and not knowing what would happen next, to where I was kind of attached to psychics, and I would go on these chat networks and want to know constantly like what was going to happen next, because I had so much anxiety in my body. And when I tried psychedelics in my life, that anxiety level, like that baseline anxiety, was revived in me. I was able to comprehend how high it was because it lowered permanently.
Was it help you to understand where did the anxiety start and then let go of it, or was it just the energy?
The energy for me, it was somatic. It was more of like, wow, you're not constantly in a state of like threat. You're not constantly having butterflies in your stomach and your heart's not racing. And what is this? Like, this is life. Like, this is how it feels to be human. But when you do not know how to live outside of that, or you've never experienced that, you don't know the difference. And psychedelics helped me do that. It helped me not be so much in my anxious mind and be more calm and be able to focus on other parts of me that exist versus what's happening in the future, because I'm so afraid.
So do you know of anyone, or if it does happen with you, where you take the drug, like let's say you've had significant trauma, and you take the drug, has there ever been an experience or a person that you know where they didn't need it anymore to feel healed?
Oh yeah.
Where it like completely went away. The trauma's gone.
Yeah, so that is the beauty of psychedelics. It's not something that you do all the time.
Okay.
You don't have to, right? Like ayahuasca journeys are maybe once or twice every year at the most. Like for me, my last one was almost 3 years ago, and that was, you know, and that was enough for you. You know, ayahuasca is not something, you know, it's its own entity. That it has its own consciousness from in the I guess in the ayahuasca world, or in people who believe, the natives, they believe it has its own consciousness, and it really does. And so when it hits you, like it will make you see things, and it will heal things within you that you're just like, wait, I don't know if I was ready, you know, but it makes you ready. It pushes you. For me, another thing I also experienced was it healed my spine. I went, and this was completely outside of my intentions. In my last ceremony, I went snowboarding 6 months before, and my tailbone was injured. And for a while, I couldn't do boat pose, which is the pose in yoga. I couldn't do it because it relies for you to be on your tailbone somewhat. And when I went to my ceremony, all of a sudden, I'm feeling this tingling going down my spine, and then it just stops and just moves around in that specific spot. And then the day after, I was able to do everything again.
Just like that.
And it sounds insane until you go through the journey. And everybody's journey is different. But until you feel like it healed a part of you, and you got that journey, and you experience what it did for me overnight, you're not really a believer. And there's a ton of people that go off of the stigma with psychedelics. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff online that says it's going to kill you, all of that, right? And there was a part of that journey where I felt like I was going to die. But it was just a thought. That's your ego death.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful part of it. You start to find, like, I found strength in that moment. I'm a survivor is what I got. I'm a survivor. I'm meant to do things in this world. I have a purpose. And because I, at that moment, came and aligned with my purpose mentally, physically, and spiritually, that's where I headed off, and I signed up for my second master's. And I was like, I have to be a therapist. So it is a catalyst for your growth, but it's not something that you do every day. And it's honestly, it loses its efficacy if you continue to do it. And that's why with microdosing, they tell you not to do it every day. They tell you to have a protocol. Either 5 days on, 2 days off, 3 days on, 2 days off, you know, because it will lose its power. So it's completely the opposite of an addictive substance that needs to be controlled.
So how long does it typically last?
So it depends. For an ayahuasca journey, I could say at least 8 hours. But each part of it is different. So it has a heightened part where you're completely out of this world. And then there's a part where you just, you know, you start to just really think, and you start to have these thoughts. Or sometimes it's auditory, you hear things. And for me, I had all of it. I had the visuals, I had the auditory, I had the third eye visuals. I guess like that would be the claircognizance. No, the clairvoyant part, where you just see things that aren't really there, but it's so clear. It's like an image.
What was your perception before you go to your first trip? What was your belief about ayahuasca?
I thought it was going to kill me. I thought that it was going to really do something. I thought it would change my mind for, like, I don't know. I heard stories where I thought that it would change my mind to the point where I was like insane and I couldn't get out of it. But the way I got into even going to a ceremony was through a best friend of mine at the time, still really good friend. But because she did it all the time, and I saw where she was and how her mind thought, I was like, okay, like she's obviously fine, and all the people around her are obviously okay. So why am I scared? But then there's certain people that, like, for instance, have been through PTSD, like war veterans, where you can continue to take this medication, but then it's not reprogramming your brain, you know? There's things like me, I actually have body dysmorphic disorder, and the drug that is used to help people with that is an antidepressant.
What does that mean? I don't know.
Body dysmorphic disorder is basically the inability to see yourself as how others see you, and you constantly pick and, nitpick at certain parts of yourself, your body. You don't feel comfort. There's this perceived ugliness or flaw in you, and it doesn't stop. It's like a form of OCD. So you're constantly checking the mirror. You're constantly thinking about what you look like. It affects your self-esteem. It affects the choices that you make in your life. I mean, there was periods of my life where I wore sunglasses because I didn't have makeup on, and I didn't want to be seen by people. With exposure therapy and time, it works, but for a lot of people, when they're unaware of what they have, it causes them severe depression and isolation. So they isolate even more, which causes them to be more depressed. And so they're giving antidepressants, but then they're not really working on what needs to be worked on. They're not going to the root issue. So that's an example of how we still don't really have a medication for body dysmorphic disorder that helps with the process of healing and, becoming accepting of all parts of you that exist and not just the perceived flaws or the physical or the superficial.
When you took the drug for the first time, if you can recall that time.
Yeah.
Was there a moment where you saw yourself in the mirror as a different self?
I did. I had a moment like that. I actually did. I went to the bathroom because obviously there's a lot of purging that comes with ayahuasca.
I did read about that.
Yeah, so the bathroom needs to be close by. And so I went, and as soon as obviously, like one of my things that I do, and a lot of people do it, whether they have dysmorphia or not, they look in the mirror, and all I saw was different colors and myself. But I did see myself in a different way. I saw myself as what I see myself in pictures. So in person, because of the way our brains work, people who have body dysmorphic disorder, it's part of our occipital lobe. We view things, we literally view it differently. So we'll see something wider than what it really is. The way to look at yourself the way you really are is to see yourself in a picture. And so that's what I got.
Projected.
That's what I got in the mirror, is what I got to see me. And with time, I was that ayahuasca and just psychedelics in general, because I use mushrooms a lot, helps me tap into different parts of me, which again is really essential for the dysmorphia part. It's not just this is who I am physically, but I'm a yogi now, I'm a therapist, I'm someone who's persevering, I'm a good friend. You start to really focus on other areas.
I think like anything else in life, like a knife, you can use a knife to be a surgeon and cut somebody and then give life to them, or you can just take a knife and kill somebody.
Yeah.
So when we talk about medicine in any degree, so the way that what I'm hearing from you is that you know it's not that it doesn't do the magic the way that people think that you go and do the ayahuasca and then tomorrow you're going to be perfect.
No. You have to do the work. Same thing with addicts, right? There's a lot of people who use plant medicine for addiction treatment. If they do not have the coping skills and they don't have the trauma work that's through processing and therapy, they're going to continue to go back to their old habits, even after you go through maybe like an Ibogaine clinic in Mexico that reprograms and helps you not crave the drug anymore. If you have another moment in your life where you're going through turmoil or distress, you're going to resort back to what you know, which is the drugs. This is what helped me. This is what calmed me down last time. So this is what I'm going to go do, which is why it's so important to do the integration work. It's not just the medicine, it's what you do with it.
So to summarize this question, it's that I am going to try it once in my life. At least I'm going to try it. So I don't really know how do I feel about it, again, because how I came to know about it. But do you want to add anything?
You might need to shoot an episode on ayahuasca.
No. We're not encouraging it. We're just sharing our own opinion. And as what she said, the way that she has done, or she wants to use it, I think you want to have this as your job, in future.
Absolutely.
Is that it's not something that you just try and then everything is going to disappear. You are going to have the trauma if you do not do the job.
No, exactly.
Before we go to the second question, I want to ask you, Zahra, what are some of your biggest fears in life?
Okay, my biggest fears are failure. That is the biggest fear. And how I've overcome that thought process, or I'm working on it, is by just showing up and doing it. Action really helps with just seeing yourself, I know that fear for me at least, this is why I had the fear of failure. I see myself in my mind's eye of where I want to be. And then where I'm at is like right here. And I automatically think that I'm going to get there. And that was the cognitive distortion that I had. It's not about that. It's about the steps you take to get there. So yes, it's great to have this vision of yourself, but then what are you doing? And be realistic with yourself.
What does
right?
failure mean to you?
Failure means that I am not fulfilling my life purpose. I'm not leaving behind a legacy like I plan on doing, and it's completely un-ego based. But I feel like I am this soul in this body, and I was put in this world. I've had certain experiences that other people have not had, and there's something that I need to do with it. So I just feel like failure would be not to achieve that. And that's again, going back to like when I had the moments of death in my journey in psychedelics and ayahuasca, that was the part where I kept talking to myself and I said, I'm not done on this earth. That is my failure of like leaving this earth without doing the things I'm supposed to do to help people and humanity. That's what failure means for me.
One more before we go into the jar.
And fear, yeah.
Yes. What do you want people to remember about you the most when you leave Earth?
I want to be remembered for making a difference in their life. Like literally being this like raindrop in the ocean, right? But then having that rippling effect that like, wow, you were that raindrop, but then all these things happened because of what you said to me or the love you gave to me or the attention that I received from you.
What's the impact for you though you're gone?
So let's say when I'm gone?
Let's say that I come into let's say you help me, your legacy is there, and my grandchild, great-grandchild come across your life and you change their life, but you're not even here.
Well, I think it's the things that you've done, and like I feel like a lot of people leave this world and we still like see their quotes or we follow like their books that they've written. I think it would be like a little path, right? Even with like certain psychologists that I read about, they've all kind of created this path, but then it's kind of like this foundation they've built that you can build on. So maybe I could be that. Like I built a foundation and they're going to expand on it. You know, maybe I'm giving them little ideas.
Well, the thing is, the reason I'm asking because like, okay, let's say one of this example, Da Vinci. How much do you think they care? Like he cares that right now? Like what's the impact?
Came out and I met you actually last year. He said to me, he was like, Zahra, you're a therapist, you should know this. I'm like, what? He goes, the next time somebody comes to you with worries or they're depressed, tell them to just go to a funeral. I mean, go to a cemetery. Go to a cemetery. Go to a cemetery and just sit there. And I'm like, why? He's like, because it doesn't matter anyway. They're all under. It doesn't look where they're at.
It is true.
It's true.
So let's go with the second question. Are you ready to pick another one?
Yeah, so I get to do two.
Yes.
All right, let's see.
I cannot believe the first one was that.
Oh, it was a great one. Yeah.
It's the universe.
The universe. It was the universe.
Okay. Ooh, let's see. Why is masturbation considered a taboo in society? Okay. Why is it considered a taboo? I never knew it as a taboo until I met certain people who followed like Catholicism or were Catholic. I heard this from an older gentleman. He said to me, I went to a Catholic school and I was going through puberty and I was taught that like if I masturbated I was killing babies.
Oh.
And so that was the first time I've heard about it being a taboo.
I did not hear about that. That's interesting.
So yeah, like I never really thought of it as a taboo. It helped me. When I was in college and I was experimental, I wasn't one to share my body with people. I wasn't really sexual in that way. And I was really like, I guess mindful of who I would want to spend that or share myself with. So instead of like having sex when I would go out clubbing at night, I had a vibrator that I got and that helped me so much. So to me, it was masturbation Masturbation was a good thing for me to be able to control myself and feel like I wasn't being promiscuous, because at that time in my life, I was still programmed under like my upbringing. I grew up Muslim with very strict parents, and having sex before marriage was not okay. So I knew that like if I did have sex, it was going to be like traumatic for me internally. You know, I was going to constantly think I'm going to hell, I'm doing the wrong thing. So it was going to be a bad experience. And so masturbation was always a good thing for me. And I don't understand why it would be a taboo.
What do you think your family will feel about it? Like if
about masturbating? Yeah. I prepared myself. So when I was 18 and I got my first...
You say didn't we all?
Yes, because I lived with my parents when I was 18. And
I need to know what to tell them.
My mom used to clean my room without my permission when I was still living there. And she used to do a wonderful job. I mean, she did great, better than I could have ever done. But it used to piss me off because I was like, I wonder what she went through. So I had my vibrator then, and I was like, you know what? What would I say if she asks me what this is? And my response was, I have needs.
Okay.
I have needs, and would you rather me do this or have sex with multiple men, you know? And for her, it would have been the, like...
vibrator.
Yeah. She would have bought me, she would have went, okay, well, when's the next one going to break? I'll pay for it, you know?
We need to add this to our branding.
Yeah.
Tell me why vibrators.
Yeah. So that was my life experience with it. It was never a bad thing, and that's what I prepared to tell my mom and dad if they ever found it in my room. So... I don't know.
What do you think, Alex?
I think because sex is taboo in general, right? Like in cultures, we don't talk about sex. We don't talk about masturbation. We don't talk about wet dreams, right? These are
what
things,
is wet dream?
You know, when the boy becomes a man, he releases in the middle of the night during his fabulous dream.
So they talk about this in the school, because again, I was not born in the US. So what do you learn here?
What we learned in 4th grade that during our periods, right? When girls get her periods and boys have a wet dream. But once the teacher brought up the conversation, it wasn't talked about again.
Yeah.
You know, they said it.
They wouldn't go into detail.
And so they don't come to the school and say that masturbation is good for you.
No, we didn't. Masturbation was not discussed.
Never.
There was not one time where a teacher said to me, you should touch yourself and get to know your vagina and what your vagina does and how this can make you feel good. And the reason is because you mentioned the word control, right?
Yeah.
So when we have control over our bodies, this is promoting promiscuity. This is promoting sex. This is telling women that it is okay to feel promiscuous about yourself because we have control. When women have control, we are powerful. Right?
Yeah.
So then men, that's why it's more acceptable in society for men to masturbate. Do you ever notice like we don't talk about women masturbating?
Women don't talk about it. Like it's just like if you talk about masturbation, it's like okay. But men, I would say that probably is much easier for men to talk about it.
Absolutely.
No, it's
almost like they're animals, right?
Yes.
Like they have to do it.
You did not say this. If men are watching this,
no, but it's almost like that's how it's perceived. Like, oh, that's their need. They have to do it. Well, what about us? Are we robots?
Have needs too.
Yeah.
Like when you said to your mother, I have needs.
Yeah.
Men and women have needs.
It's not accepted by, you know, it's coming from the religion, right? Religion is, for whatever reason, religion decided that masturbation is not, as what you mentioned, it's just because it's promoted. Now you will feel, you want to have more, experience it more, you want to have sex.
Yeah.
And we came to know, earlier today, that even Dalai Lama doesn't.
Yeah, the Dalai Lama said
Dalai Lama,
no, absolutely no masturbation. That is a sin.
Yeah.
I wonder if it has to do with it promoting people to come together. So if there's no masturbation and you're not releasing yourself, then it's causing you to have more of a need to connect with another human being so that you can fulfill that. Maybe whether that's like the man having to pursue the woman or the man or the woman. Yeah, you're not releasing. So now there's this motivation to go seek a partner of the same gender or different gender, you know, to be able to have connection and then maybe recreate, which is what
what masturbation
procreate.
does a lot is it helps you understand about your body.
Yeah,
Right?
it does.
Yeah.
And in the society we live right now, what's the percentage of people who are enjoying their sex or who they reach the orgasm and they just understand what's their body, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I'm just starting to learn about my body.
I don't know if this statistic is actually correct. I think I read it on BuzzFeed, but I think 50% of women don't actually reach orgasm when they're having sex. Half of the women in the world, or at least in America, they don't reach orgasm. And a lot of that has to do with them not knowing their body.
Right.
So it's like,
if I would have never placed that vibrator on my clitoris, I would have never known the wonderful feeling of like
I think what's why religion didn't want you to do, because if we want to go back to religion, let's say that we're talking about years ago of religion, right?
Yeah.
And we are living in a society, we are living in a masculine society. Masculine by not meaning, but it's just that man-made society.
Yeah.
I mean, do you agree or disagree?
I do agree.
Yeah. Right? So we live in a universe that has been built by men, and men wanted to keep women quite, I guess, ready for this intercourse that they want to have.
Maybe, yeah.
And then with masturbation was forbidden, so you couldn't really talk about it, and they were in power.
Yeah.
and then on the other end too, there's the whole, if women know how to masturbate, they make themselves feel good, I don't need a man.
That's
Then
true.
it's that
Very
part.
true. Men wouldn't need women.
Men wouldn't need women.
That's true.
So again, that goes back to you saying, if you release, then you don't
Keeping
have a desire to have that connection at all.
That's
right?
true.
You have this highest connection with yourself, and you're like, I don't need another partner.
No, I don't. I can choose like to have a partner that earns me, and versus it being something that I like a sexual release that I need to build with that person, which then might, lead to something more. For me, it's like the opposite. Like I need to make sure that I know who this person is and I have enough control physically to be able to hold back my power here, the yoni power for me, and be able to have that person really show me who they are and like show me that they love me and they respect me and they want to be with me. And then at the end, when I'm ready, then I'll have sex with them, but with hormones, that's not always possible. So you need to release them. So
now that we're talking about this, I'm just what you said right now. I feel like I've heard this before too, right? So they're saying men, if they masturbate because their sperm is going to be wasted, which could be potentially a kid in the future. It's like the egg that falls down.
Right.
You feel guilty for the egg that because it becomes the eggs that we are creating. We are making a scene, right? That egg is not becoming a chicken. But I'm wondering why in Islam masturbation was forbidden even for women, because I have no sperm.
So I'll have to tell you, there's a story on TED Talk about the whole hijab, right? And the misconception of it. So this is how it started. So back in the day, there were, at nighttime, there was a part of the village where women would go and they would masturbate there.
Okay.
Right? How hijab came was, there were women who were slaves who didn't have a lot of clothes, right? And so when they would walk at night, and the men found out that this was the masturbation spot for the woman. When they were walking at night, the woman who had the least amount of clothing on were considered slaves, right? So they were the ones that were getting raped and attacked by the men. The ones who had covered garments on were not. So supposedly the prophet said, okay, in order for us not for the men to be able to distinguish the difference between the woman and who, like whether they're a slave or not, let them all wear this garment. Not because they need to cover their beauty or their hair, or like, no, it was just to differentiate between you being a slave and you being a woman of like high society, like, I don't know, from a wealthy family.
Did your mom tell you this story?
No, it's a TED Talk. It's a TED Talk, but I want to share it with my mom. So basically, the whole concept of a hijab is wrong.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
But like, there was a village that actually like
was the woman a Muslim? That the speaker was Muslim?
I don't know.
Did she
if
have
she's
hijab?
Muslim. No, she didn't.
Okay.
But it just goes to show that
it's a good
masturbation existed even in those not prehistoric like times for women. There was a whole area where they could go and release themselves. I don't know what happened to where that became a taboo. It's almost like we went backwards,
But I don't understand it. Like, I think masturbation is needed. Everyone needs to masturbate. If you are not masturbating, please masturbate. Because that's the only
But what
way you
about
understand.
this though? What about if you masturbate, can that desensitize you? So for instance, with me, I've noticed like if I masturbate like using this vibrator for long periods of times or like frequently, then when my partner goes down on me orally, it's harder to reach climax. So maybe, yeah, masturbate, but think about how it could desensitize you as well.
Well, definitely. I mean, it's again, you don't want to not do it because of a taboo.
No, exactly.
So you want to do it for in your own way of what's your need. Like if you want to just experiment your body, just want to have a quick pleasure, or whatever it is. It's not to do it because we were told.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's our purpose of this show, is that we need to ask question like, why is this a taboo? Why can we not talk about masturbation?
I think it's self-love.
Yeah,
At the end of the day,
is.
that's what it is.
It is.
We need to know our bodies. And listen, if I had to wear the hijab, I would cut a hole and I would touch myself. I'd be like, listen, we're going to the village. We're all going to hide. We're still going to have self-love.
Yes, absolutely.
This is so super fun, but we have to end our show very soon. So is there anything you want to tell us? Like any...
My thing is, no matter what you grew up learning, whatever your parents told you, whatever you thought was acceptable, try to always question it. Try to live through your experiences. So if you're feeling like you have emotions for the same sex, and you were told that it's not right, it's a taboo, and still in many different cultures and parts of the world, honor your feelings, honor your experiences, and honor your thoughts. That's what's really guiding you. You know, for example, and I'll end us off with this, like I grew up being told that I wasn't allowed to marry a certain person based on their religious belief. But in this world, this universe taught me that the best connection I've built with someone was from someone who came from the opposite religion, one that was actually shunned down against from the one I grew up on. And that person was the best person for me ever. It has like helped me grow as a person in so many different ways. So because of my experience, I was able to shift all of those programmed beliefs. But it would be ignorant to not live like that. To literally go off of what somebody else tells you based on like a religion or a cult. Go off of your own experiences.
Yes.
And question everything.
Question everything. And that's what we do every day, every second in this show, in our friendship, in our relationship. We always ask why. Thank you so much for joining this program.
Thank you.
And this was really fun. And let's go and do some masturbation.
Yes.